Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you, Val, for keeping us all in touch. We're learning something new every day, like wearing my, if I do this, and don't mind me. Anyway, when we're really missing everyone this week, but I'm thinking it's just going to make it that much sweeter next year. So hang in there and stay tuned and follow this quilt show and the Stitchin Post every day. See what's happening. They're doing a really great job of getting everybody out there and connected. So today, Jean asked me some time ago to talk about, we're really going to look at just a simple running stitch and on lots of different ways you can use it. I have a couple of new patterns coming out. They should be officially printed in the next week or two, but we do have some already printed here in store that will be available today and moving forward. So I'm just, because there's so much information on any kind of a technique, I'm going to show you what I do and what I use and what I like, but I'll throw in a few extra little items that the store sells here, and that you should always try different things, see what works best for you. So the two patterns, we've got the Running Wild Table Runner, and it has more of a cantha stitch, which is kind of it's a larger running stitch. And I believe it originated more in eastern India, a whole different look than what we're going to talk about with the sashiko from Japan. But it's Bangladesh, that area. You can even, I believe you can buy sari fabric that's already been stitched. But the thing I like about this running stitch is that, and I must need a lot of downtime because I do a lot of hand stitching. In fact, that's my complete and total go-to, has been all my life. I love my sewing machine, and I thought, well, I could probably live without my sewing machine. I probably could, but I really like having it. So, but for the most part, if I had to choose, it would be the hand stitching. And again, we're just going to touch lightly on what's out there and what's available, but there's a lot of fun stuff. And so we're going to look at things that the store has here ready to go for you. And I also, so there's this pattern, and then the other one's being printed, and it is this pattern here for a simple bag with leather handles, and it's more of a sashiko, which is more, and traditionally sashiko is from Japan, and it's more of it's a repeated kind of a, what's the word I want to use? More, there's a word for it. Anyway, it's more, anyway. And they used that, primarily it was white thread on indigo fabric, and they used it for mending their clothes. And they had a weak spot in the clothing. They would use it for mending, and more, what is that word? Anyway,
it'll come to you.
It'll come to me later. So this is the pattern for that, and there's a couple of different sides using a couple of different, also a seed stitch, a French knot, and a chain stitch. So that pattern also is coming out from the store here after this demo, and then officially printed up in the next week or two. So very simple pattern, lined and with a pocket. There's another sample there. Okay. And then this was the first bag I made using a pair of old jeans and kind of a mending kind of idea, but those of you who know me know that my motto is you can really do whatever you want. If you're having fun, just experiment. Don't be afraid. Just go for it. If you've got some idea, you can just, you can do whatever you want. So don't be afraid. And this also has a black lining and just a plain full solid background. And then the store sells these wonderful Cocoa Knits leather handles, and they sew right on with a little. You can take them on and off very easily. They're really super cool. They're just nice little lightweight for a lightweight bag. They come with little leather ties. You don't even have to. I sewed mine with some top stitching thread, but great little handles for these kinds of bags. So anyway, the pattern does come with a few. You can draw anything onto these, onto your fabrics. I like to use a chalk pencil. I tend to go to these. Some people like the sharper. They have this Bohin pen, and it has a lead pencil. It has white chalk and pink chalk. So these are kind of nice to have and handy. And sometimes I find them on linen, which I use a lot, a little bit too sharp, so I like the duller. They make a fatter line, but I mark, and I just kind of, again, just free form drawing, and as you can see, there's a theme to or a method to my madness. It's circles everywhere. I just can't, I'm not through with circles yet, so you'll see a lot of circles. There's different ways to go about your stitching. For the bag, you can do it right onto the linen. This is a fairly thin linen. You have to be careful with your tension. I think for the bag, I did it with a piece of lightweight thin cotton batting. I think that's in the pattern. That's what it's done with. So there are different ways. Or you can come and you can do, I put together a placemat, a smaller version of the Running Wild table runner, to give you an example of how I start and stop without doing a knot. Because now I went ahead and finished the whole mat with the binding and all before I quilted it. So you can do that, or I could have quilted it first and then come and done my binding around the outside afterwards. It has a thin, I like that Quilters, the Dream, the Request, yeah. It's pretty lightweight. So that's what this one has in it. So you can do it a number of ways. Just try things out. Here's a new table runner I'm working on, and it is just 2 layers of fabric. It's 2 layers of linen. So you can do it that way. I've done a little bit of top stitching with the machine to keep the layers together. I've also used flannel, washed a flannel inside. So there's just different things you can try for the different kind of a look or feel that you want. This is going to be nice and loose and not as stiff, and so it doesn't matter. And that one also is just layers of fabric. It was for a stitching class last fall, kind of a mending. This is the new thing, mending, and the entire thing is put together by hand. Even the other side, you can flip it over. It's just big chunks of fabric. And I just folded the seams under and top stitch on top of them with a running stitch. Again, the running stitch is my friend. I love the running stitch. So you can do, and then Val's showing the decorative stitches. Again, most of those are just running stitches, and you just play with it. And there might be a few, I don't know if there are even any. That's not really a running stitch, which is a little cross or an X. Just those really simple, basic that many of us learned as kids, the embroidery. And then just, you can make it super whimsical, super sophisticated, super simple. And so, God, my nose running. Anyway, so that's why we're focusing on this today. And I'm trying to show you what I use for thread. This one I used, and the store sells these. They're from Sue Spargo, and they're called Eleganza. They are pearl cottons, and they sell it in 3 different sizes. And 8 is the thinnest that they sell, and then the 5. And they're all color-coded. The 8 comes with the lime green center. the number 5 is a little bit heavier, comes with the purple center. And then the blue is a number 3, and it's quite a thick thread. But you can use any of these. It'll give you a little bit different look.
What size did you use on this?
That's a number 8. And my go-to needle is a chenille 24 for the size 8. They're nice and sharp, a little bit short. Well, for me they're short because I use a long applique needle, but there are also sashiko needles. Here they come in long and in short, and they're quite nice too. The whole key is you got to have you look at the needle and you look at the eye, and is my thread going to fit into that needle? Well, then you're good to go, you know. So the 24 works for the 8. If you go heavier with a 5 or a 3, I know this is lots of information, there is a bigger needle, an 18. It's all about whether you can get comfortably that thread through the eye of the needle. So, and Sue Spargo, she has a lovely stitching book, and everything she sells is color coordinated. The labels on the needles match this color. Match the colors of you look at the needle. She sells all these needles.
Oh, Jackie's going to get them.
And yeah, you're a little bit low on them out there, but the blue will fit this blue. You can just come along and put your thing right in there. The needles fit that. She's very, very clever. So FYI, it's just, and then her book has all the illustrations. You can lay that needle down. If all of a sudden it gets lost in your pincushion, you take the needle, lay it down on the picture in her book, and there you have it. It will identify that needle. So her stuff, if you're getting into stitching, or maybe you're already there and didn't know this, it's just a wealth of information. So, but they're also the tulip. I know Sue loves the tulip needles. These are sashiko. These are tulip. They're out of Japan. Lovely needles. Beautiful needles. But I tended to just go to the clover. I've got these. I'm using the sashiko needles, I think, on a couple of these. So, you know, it's just playing with it. You might like a shorter needle. You might like a longer needle, just so you can get that thread through the eye. If you can't get the thread, look for a different needle, a different size. So that's kind of the trick. So what I wanted to show today and share with you is also, well, here's some more sashiko, beautiful from, the Japanese, as we all know, are just, everything's just exquisite. And the sashiko, I am not a sashiko master, even a little bit. And so they use this funny little thimble that goes on their thumb, and if you watch a video, and they just, and they're loading up those stitches on the needle and pulling it through. I'm doing once. The sashiko means little stabs. I do one little stab at a time. That's where I'm at right now. So anyway, again, lots of different ways of doing this. You know, everyone's different. You'll find something, but just play with it. So what I wanted to show you is how I stop and start, even when do my regular hand quilting, and the thread is, it's a thicker, stiff thread, but it's quite a bit thinner than this. It's a regular thread. This even works with that. So what I do, because I don't want any knots showing on the back of this, is, and if you can see, I've ended here on a spot. I've run out here. Everyone can see here, right here. I'm going to come about an inch out and away from it and take my point and come back to where I want the next stitch to start, but I'm in between the layers. Okay? And I pull it through, and I pull the tail, and I leave the tail laying there. I'm going to bury the tail, but it's laying inside of there. And then I'm going to come back and sew over it and catch it. And maybe that's what you already do, but just in case. So with a thinner thread that I use for regular cotton hand quilting. Sometimes you have to make a few passes. It's harder to catch that stiff little piece of thread. But this thread, this pearl cotton, this is a size 8 pearl cotton of eleganza. Now it has a little bit more of a sheen to it than these are Sashiko threads from Japan. They're more of a matte finish, which I I like them both. So again, personal preference. I'm using today for the demo. And then what I do is I gather it up. I'm a righty, so I'm going to gather it up. This is how I do all my stitching and my... I'll master these. I got another year at least to wear this thing right. So I'm going to try to come back through. It's easier for me to regulate my stitches one at a time. Some of you can do, when I'm doing regular hand quilting, I can do 3. I can rock it. I'm still working on... And the key is always to have uniformly shaped stitches. Well, that's just fine. But is that a reality? On some days it's pretty darn good. So I just do a stitch, and I'm just gonna tug on it. Make sure I snag that tail, so the tail is good. So I have nothing showing back here, and I'm going to keep. And I kind of use my finger underneath to push up to make a little ridge. So you could try to do, I just have and it's harder to go through these 3 layers, a little bit. And you can mark with a chalk pencil or any kind of a pencil that will come out. The color will iron out or wash out, or, don't iron it until it's completely gone. But I'm kind of an eyeballer. I'll just I've marked here on the end kind of a 1/2 inch apart, but often I don't even do that. And so my motto is close is good, but it looks a little more handmade, right? So I'm good with that. So again, I could do this. I could try to do so you won't have as much of a showing on the back. Some spots you will, but it won't show as much on the back. It's got quite a few layers, and especially once you go through the circle, that's 4 layers. So when I come to the end, when I'm running out, and I will do this, my fingers are a mess. There are protectors out there, but do I use them? No, I should. But so say I'm at the end of my piece, of my thread, and so instead of making a knot, and possibly, because this makes it even just a little single knot can pull threads on your cotton fabric or whatever fabric you're using, I just go back through the layers and kind of try to catch some of those stitches, and I'll go back 2 or 3 times, and it's not going to wiggle out. Just make sure you haven't come through on the back with a big fat stitch. So that's how I end it, and
That's so clever.
And then you have no knots on the back. And then you just clip it off, and you're good to go on that.
Tony, is that the book that you were talking about?
Yes, Creative Stitching, and this is the 2nd edition, Sue Spargo.
Hold on. Someone asked her which book it was, so.
Yeah, wealth of information. It's got it all in there. Again, the needles, everything, and you can lay it. I don't know if I can go to the page that has the picture of the needles on it, but it's so clever. And then matching, if you can remember that, matching the anyway, it's really a great book. So check her out. And the Stitchin Post has a lot of Sue Spargo products, so which is really great.
We love Sue Spargo.
Yeah, we love her. So that is a great stitching book. Questions. What have I forgotten? Lots of ideas. I love to this was kind of for the mending class too, where you can and I think on some of those, I just plain old it was new fabric, and I just took my scissors and cut a hole in it and did a little reverse applique. That's what I did with these old jeans. This is an old pair of jeans, and put some color behind them, and
Can you go? Oh, hold on. I lost a question. It says, can you go over the no knot ending again? I can't see if there's a double stitch on the way back.
Okay. So the no knot ending. So okay, so I say I'm here. So I ended here. I'm hoping this can show it. This is a bad one to land on because it's got the same. So I go back into the same hole where my last stitch came up. I go back into that and then just go through the layers and try to catch some of that stitching. And I go through that way. And then I go back through the same hole that I came out, where I came out, and I go back this way, and then you can go a third time if you want. And
You're
then,
not making the stitch bigger. You're just going through the same hole that you already created
yes, that's to end it.
to end it.
Mm-hmm. Just go back into the same hole so that you are just burying the thread without a knot.
Okay.
And if you go back at least twice, you can go 3 times if you want. Just making sure you don't end up with a big, that doesn't come through the back. You got to stay in between those layers. So then you're not free, especially if you're using some of the thicker threads. Now, if you're starting with something like this and you have batting and it's just batting, you're going to cover it up. It doesn't matter. You can have knots all over the place. Just being careful.
How do you make your circles?
I make my circles by using these great perfect circles. Even though I'm a needle turner, I don't have a problem with that. But I have now practiced a little bit more with these. I kept thinking, well, by the time I figured this out, I could have one sewn on already. Well, then I learned that, okay, Tony, take your time, learn how to use these. And it's their little, I don't know if it's a mylar or what it is. It's a plastic that you can iron on. The instructions are in here. You do base the stitch and then pull it around these and iron it with a medium iron, and they make a nice finished circle. And then I do, of course, hand sew them on, hand applique them on. So these things are great. Tons of sizes, a little bit smaller, and then they get bigger. And there's multiples of the different sizes inside of these if you're making lots at a time, which I tend to do. So, yeah, those things are great. Thank you for asking that.
They're always so perfect, so I'm like, how should I do that?
She cheated. So, and I know, here's a little sample. There's some more. This is wool stitching, and again, pretty much those same simple stitches. There's some running stitches, a little X plus, a little chain stitch, and I don't know what's down, seed stitch, which I love, which is the same as I was on that indigo piece there. So, simple stitches, great effect. I tend to like, even though I do really busy stuff, it just depends on the day. Sometimes I like a real minimal. I just got to have that going on, and then other days it's just busy, crazy, busy, fun. And these are all totally from my scrap bag. So I was proud of myself when I did this the other day. I started to go over to my stash. I went, no, you have to use everything from your stash or your scrap bag. So.
That's perfect. Anybody else have any questions?
These handles, are they already cut like that?
Yes.
They come in a little, and they come with a pattern for this wonderful little linen bag.
Will you repeat the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. The handles, the Cocoa Knits handles. They come in a package, and with them comes a pattern for this wonderful linen bag, very whimsical, fun linen bag. And Val has a sample out there that she has stamped. There's also, you can also buy them the handle, the bag already made in a package. So there are different options for you. You can just get the handles, and it gives you the pattern, or you can buy the whole kit.
Yeah, well, actually, they're sold separately. So there's the bag.
Oh, the bag doesn't come with the handles
The
in
bag
it.
does not come with the handles.
Okay,
That's the handles, though.
okay. Here are the handles.
Sure.
But Val made a great sample out there of of the linen bag. It's really cute. Maybe you've seen it, yeah.
Video a couple days ago.
Yeah.
But they're lovely little lightweight handles. You can see I've got, purchased several pair. So
Oh, yes, what's your question?
The bag there, okay, is that in your pattern, or?
you know, this I made this bag for this mending stitching class last fall. It was a book, a mending book, and so that's kind of what. And then this came about, and then I decided, well, I'm going to make a pattern out of it. Or I think Jean saw this. Oh, make a pattern. So I kind of toned it down a little bit, and.
So that isn't a pattern,
But you could use this pattern, yeah, and use the jeans or whatever, absolutely. And this is old pair of jeans from the Habitat that I got, and I used it, cut it up and used it in all sorts of different things. Yeah, it was great. So you might have some at home, or so.
And I also have your,
Oh, the original, a hardback.
and
Yeah.
you signed it.
It's fun to see those. It has been a long time. Gosh, 12 years or something. And here's the wonderful bag that comes in the kit. And then Val put her wonderful designs on it. So more stuff. Yay. So,
Thanks, Tony. Safe
all right. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.